At this point, I'd now like to introduce to the stage our impact panel, which will celebrate the transformative impact horse racing initiatives can have on young people's lives. First to the stage, Lucinda Campbell-Dutton, CEO of the Pony Racing Authority. The PRA breaks down barriers for young people that do not own their own pony, creating access to competitive racing and building confidence through achievement. Joining Lucinda is Jane Greenman, HR Director at ARC and responsible for their racing apprenticeship programs, developing employability and life skills through those apprenticeships that serve as a springboard to broader career opportunities. And finally, Lauren Semple from Police Scotland, who delivers the Scottish Racing Academy partnership using racing as an intervention tool for at-risk youth in Glasgow, providing alternative pathways and community connections. Welcome to the stage, and I'm going to take a chance to sit down myself, as it's a lot easier and a lot easier to converse. Lucinda, I'll start with you. Tell me a little bit about the sort of impact working with horses and being part of the racing industry can have in helping young people with self-belief as much as anything else, which we just saw in that video.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cleo obviously was a person that came to us. She had no experience of pony racing at all. She's actually from the middle of London. Her mum is a paramedic. They had no engagement apart from going to a riding centre just outside of London. And that riding centre has worked with us with thanks to the pathway through Racing Foundation and the Levy Board, where they have a funded place for an academy place. And she then took the sessions, learned how to pony race, and actually had a pony race at the end of her 12 sessions. So without that, she would have never obviously found pony racing. But what we do find is those that do engage and have these funded places, and some of them are from inner cities or rural areas, their personal lives at home change as well. They're not just learning how to pony race or race ride or learning about the industry or careers, but they go away and their results, their grades in school are increasing and their personal family lives are improving. So we see that passion gives them the goal, and actually it's got such a ripple effect on their personal lives, not just experience of pony racing.
It's the butterfly effect,
yes.
Helping in all aspects of their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Lovely to see. Jane, just to ask a bit about the environment that racing provides. It's unique, it's very different to a lot of other industries, obviously. And we're talking about helping people in other areas of their lives. Tell me of some examples of apprentices who've used racing as a foundation for diverse career paths once they've got that confidence and they've got that drive.
Yeah, so I mean, we have been working a lot with the Stephen Lawrence Day Foundation in the last couple of years. It's been a long process, I would say. To some of the earlier speakers, I think we've had to be really unafraid of failure. I think we've had as much failure as we've had success, but I think impact-wise, some of the young people that we've seen that have actually brilliantly and very well timed to just pass their apprenticeship in the last couple of weeks, they've seen a real difference in their lives. They're coming, much as Lucinda said, from inner city locations and have not necessarily had any exposure to racing whatsoever. So the way that we have done that is we work with the outreach programs which Stephen Lawrence Day Foundation provided us with access to and introduced very beautifully by Lee Molson, who's here in the room today. Thank you, Lee. And we did a taster day for them. They'd never been to a racecourse before. They came along. But what we did, I think, was we showed them all the areas. You know, we took them behind the scenes, we took them to the stables, we took them, showed them how to, check the ground and see how it was. Showed them how to make a dessert in catering, and talked about all those different opportunities that, of course, racecourses have got beyond the kind of equine. So I think for our apprentices that have been successful through the programme, but also for those that haven't, they've learned some of those experiences. Employability, skills, and for me what really always stands out is the confidence that you see. So seeing them right at the start of that process where actually getting to the taster day was a challenge for some of them. Some of them have additional needs and some of them have got some quite difficult circumstances in their background, but seeing that confidence grow over those couple of years, that's been where we've seen the real impact.
Right. I imagine that's hugely rewarding.
Very rewarding, yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Lauren, you work with a lot of young people who need direction, they need purpose. What sort of transformations have you seen working with at-risk youth and helping them to find that direction and purpose through racing?
It's been such a kind of phenomenal kind of engagement project that we had. We reduced the East End of Glasgow is unfortunately the crime capital of Europe most of the time when you do the crime stats. So we reduced antisocial behaviour for under 18s by 65% because we originally, the first year of the project, we done it on a Friday night and I literally drove about in a minibus and picked them up. You know, like that was the sort of way, you will come with me and you will do this. But it actually spiralled itself, and they were probably, the first lot were probably the hardest to engage, but through their achievement and what they got from it, none of them had seen a horse, none of them had touched a horse. If you could have seen them turn up in their Crocs, I would honestly, you would not believe me the way they turned up for the first session. But they then told their school, all went back to school. They actually started going to school because if they didn't go to school, they couldn't come with me. So that improved that part. And then the next year I had a queue. I had too many wanting to do it. I had more schools getting in touch with me. And as we all know, funding is not the easiest to get and it's not the cheapest of kind of projects to run. It doesn't matter how willingly places are trying to reduce the prices, there's still a massive cost implication. But we improved attendance in the worst attended school in Scotland by, I think it was, all my kids went up to 95% attendance to come to school. Most of them now have actually went out, they've continued on. The 3 have come into sort of equestrian and 1 into racing, but the rest have all now got skills, and they said, one of the parents was in tears because he said, my son was going to leave with nothing. Do you know, he was going to leave school with nothing, is now have this. And it was slightly from my part, it improved the police's kind of relationship with them by using that. Do you know, it's a really hard way for they all hate us in the East End of Glasgow, unfortunately, because we never go with good news. And it was one of these ones where I had parents who, I think 2 of them I had arrested at one point in my service, but they were talking to me, do you know? And even now, like the SRA girls are here, Tegan and Paige were really hard, they now wave at me, do you know? Like they would never have spoke to me, they now wave to speak to me and I'm driving down the street in uniform. So it's such a, the only hard bits we have is sort of, they are outsiders coming into this world, and I think Robin's, they kind of Stu spoke about it. We're not that easy to access. We have a certain language that we use. We have behaviours that we have, and seeing you're not from that, it's really intimidating. We spoke about going to a race course, you don't know where to go. It's the same as coming onto a yard and suddenly folk are saying, you've got to do, you know, it's all these regimented ways, and it's how we break that down, because that's the first hurdle and I go, I'm not doing it. Do you know, it was like putting on boots. Oh, that was it. But it's how we change it. We need to change sort of these wee bits about it. But it's so powerful.
Can I ask all 3 of you to answer this question? I'm presuming, and it's entirely a presumption, and I may be wrong to do that, but once you get these projects up and running and their peers see what they're doing, does that have a big effect on encouraging others to join? How big an effect is that?
I can answer on the part of the pathway where we have particularly a taster day. It's run in conjunction with a pony club race day, so we invite families to come, and they mostly have never been on a race course before at all. They'll come along and there'll be one person booked in to attend the taster day. They'll learn fitness required, what's required of pony racing, a bit more about racing and career opportunities. But the parent will bring them and their siblings, and then you'll see the sibling will get involved, and the parent then is like, oh, actually, no, look, this looks really interesting. And the feedback we have from these families is, God, we didn't realise that it was so inviting to come to a race course. Yeah. We didn't realise, you know, that my little one could get involved. And now, actually, Paul Lee, who is sitting in the crowd here, is the pathway coordinator, and actually she'll have little siblings saying, well, when can I come to a taster day? When can I come pony racing? And all families and friends, and in some instances she'll have to talk to them for 3 years and keep them, you know, interested with things to come. And then as soon as they turn old enough to come to a taster day, they're booked in. And so, you know, there is a lot of that we see as a ripple effect, definitely.
Great to hear, Jane.
I think the thing that I've found the most interesting actually has been the impact on the team around the young people that you know that are coming into us. And kind of explaining the concept of equity and why that young person might have struggled to get into work by 10 o'clock that day, whereas all their colleagues are in at 9 o'clock and doing what they're doing. That, I think, has been really insightful for our teams to really understand, actually, we're trying to open the door to these young people and actually give them a great experience. And indeed, one of the apprentices were here today, he would say he does now get in for 9 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I think that's been the most impactful thing for me. Yeah.
And Lauren, once you've had experiences of those who've benefited from it, does it have that effect of inspiring, encouraging others who've seen those benefiting from it?
Like the schools are crying out for more. We just can't fund it. That's the problem. Like all schools, every campus officer wanting to say how could they get their kids involved. How can they do this? And it's actually really good because our presentation that we deliver to them when they ask about it is how much each person earns in racing, and I try and explain how little roles actually involve the horse. There's so many roles within racing, and I go from catering to grounds, all these things, and it's trying to encourage folk. Everyone thinks they need to know what a horse is and how to deal with a horse, and that's the really big bit of getting them there, and they go, suddenly have even more folk want to join.
Yeah, but there are so many things you can do at the racecourse. Where William's here, could be the next William Derby. You could be all sorts of things at the racecourse. It's not just involving the horses. It's great to see. Lucinda, going back to you and your experiences at the PRA, I presume there'll be a number of stories you've got about people having that first sense of achievement. But for people who've done well or got involved in it, who originally thought that racing wasn't for them, have you got some examples of people like that?
Yeah, there's one particular young gentleman that springs to mind. He went down to the bookmakers with his granddad one day, just realised he really wanted to get involved in racing, got in contact with us, and from there he had to wait till he was old enough to start pony racing. And he took an academy place, so a funded place of 12 sessions, and completed that. And then he kind of has done everything else he can do in between. So he's completed his academy. He's done four rides on different race courses. Wow. But in the in-between of that, he's then sought further funding with us to do what we call a graduate programme, where they part fund and find further riding. But if there's an opportunity he can get involved with, he will. I mean, he comes to taster days and talks to younger children than himself about, his experience, how he didn't even know about the opportunity of pony racing. He's been to the BRS and he's done a scholarship programme with them. And he's even been abroad to France and done training there. So he, without pony racing, his family as well, actually, weren't sure pony racing or horse racing as a career were right for him. Oh. And so we invited them to a careers in racing kind of collaboration evening that we did on Zoom. And they made an agreement, if he went away, got his GCSEs, then that would be fine because he's got his, his GCSEs behind him. And actually now, having seen all these extra rides he's done and all the different career opportunities available, they've said, you know what, if that is what you want to do, then go on, we'll pursue you, but you've got your GCSEs behind you as a fallback. So and they had no experience of racing before then. So
amazing. On a similar theme, Jane, the apprenticeship programs reaching young people who might not be from a traditional racing background, or they might have challenging circumstances themselves. There must be some really interesting, impactful examples of that for you.
Yeah, I think there are a lot. I mean, we've got 25-ish apprentices across the business in ARC at the moment, some of which have come through some of the partnerships. I think for me, it's the apprentices on the younger end that I always find you see the most impact for. And even then, talking about that ripple effect again with their families, we've had letters in from apprentice parents saying, they can't believe the sort of pastoral care that racing and the business gives to these young people and makes them feel really, really at home. And I think that sort of sense of belonging is something that we're really trying to grow through our programme.
Lauren, tell me about how you think racing can create the change in young people who really never saw themselves being involved in the equine, the racing industry.
It's when they realise there's so many opportunities for them the best bit for them is when they first see a horse and they actually engage with one, and that barrier. I think I always use the term the power of the horse, and it's us who have horses, and I've always known horses, take it for granted how amazing of an animal they are, and just to see youth that have never, who I can honestly say would probably have quite easily, and I don't use this literally, but they probably would have stabbed me on sight because I'm a police officer, seeing this emotional, angry child to suddenly near enough break down in front of you, being so happy, do you know, and falling in love with an animal. Do you know, it's really, and it happens. I mean, one of them was in the first session, refused to put shoes on, then refused to leave, didn't want to leave Whisper behind, do you know, and you cannot really, what we can provide is amazing. Do you know, it's just being able to share these opportunities with people that don't know they exist, and there is millions out there that don't know they exist. And actually, you don't need to be able, you can have any challenges in your life or learning or abilities, there's something for you in this world, and that's the thing we need to remember, and it's trying to encourage that growth and show them, it's how we show them the opportunities, because everyone thinks of racing as a horse and the best betting and things like that, and it's not. All this amazing opportunities that are out there.
Yeah. I'll ask all three of you this question. Do you think we communicate the positivity of these stories, and not just the people in the room here, but the entire sport? Do you think the entire sport is indeed well aware of the work that you all do in each of your particular fields and areas? Do you think we communicate it as well as we can, and if we don't, how do we make it better?
I think for us, we feel that we're doing all we can to communicate it, but I do also think that, you know, people might see pony racing and think, oh, we have to have a pony to pony race, and not everybody in the room might think, actually, if you haven't got a pony, you can still pony race, you just need to find. And I think signposting that we picked up on earlier is a real key thing that we need to all work on as an industry, because if somebody Googles, how do I get involved in pony racing or racing, or in, you know, if we had one central location and it signposted it, it might work. And to me, I think we're shouting as pony racing as loud as we can, but I think if we're all working together, it's only going to shout louder, isn't it? So.
Yeah. When you use the phrase central location, I smile, because I mean, so many of us have spoken about something like that. What about your thoughts on that, Jane?
Yeah, I think as employers, I think we all know what we're doing. We all know the little pockets and the things that we're trying to achieve. But do we necessarily all get together in a room and say, right, what's the strategy here? How are we doing this? I don't think that we do that. But, you know, there's so many great things. Careers in racing do a fantastic job, but actually we all need to feed into that much better and create those pathways. So it's really clear when somebody's knocking on my door or any of our doors, where do we go next? What's next on this path?
All right.
I suppose the outsider a wee bit, I would say no. Like, if it wasn't for the SRA, I wouldn't have anything. Do you know, it was them that helped me set it up, and them that run it and are the driving force behind it. And it's really hard to get engagement from other areas, and no one really knows it's there, and it can only grow, and we can only reach all these other youths that are out there if other people work with. It doesn't need, do you know, it's sharing all that, and actually you need to get into these other places. You're not going to expand your workforce. You're not going to get it better if as we said, it's up here. These are all this different youths out there, and it's, do you know, only 2 years ago I learned about racing to school. I didn't even know that existed. Do you know, like for the primary age, and like, how did I not know that? Do you know, it's kind of, these are the things that, why do we not know these projects and these things that are out there? Why are we not putting them everywhere? I know it's a wee bit to do with money, that's my problem, but there's a lot of people out there that could help us shout it, if we're just not maybe asking them.
I think it's fair to say there's an assumption that a lot of us know what's there, and that we would just automatically refer to it. But it's not always that case. I mean, just in everybody's life, you're so busy doing whatever it is, not just professionally, but personally, and you think, actually, I didn't know that. And sometimes you just need someone to be able to pinpoint those things. We heard from both Rob and Stu this morning talking about, you know, inspiring. And I think it's fair to say, if anyone's listening to this conversation intently and feeling about understanding the sentiment behind it and the feeling, I think it's fair to say that some of the stories, what you're telling us, is quite inspiring. If you could, with any amount of money in the world, be in charge of a marketing budget to tell the story about each of your respective organisations, how would you market it and say what you're doing is because we're sitting here, I'm feeling inspired by what we're saying. I'm sure other people would as well. How would you want to do that? How would you sell that story?
I think I've said first every time.
I think for me, I just want to shout about the fact, I know, and I think you said this already, but you know, it's not just about the horse, and I know that we've got so many really passionate horse people in this room, which is fantastic. But for me, that's probably the last thing on my mind. So when I'm looking at a group of young people, I probably am that outsider. I've worked in racing for 16 years, but I'm not like the biggest racing fan. So for me, I'm always looking at it from an outside perspective, and what I would want to market to these young people in schools, wherever it is that there's a career here for you, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, whether it's digital, content creation, whatever it is, that's how I would want to put forward what my organisation can give.
Similar? Nice.
It's the same thing. I left, my daughter's 13, so she's chose her subjects, and before she chose them, she went round, everybody knew, what do you do and what do you in? Do you know, that was her kind of pattern one. And we have to remember now they are about much, do you know, like they're looking, tell them what we earn, do you know, like I know some are not, but it's an opportunity to show them all these are there. These are the hours you do. This is where you can work. You can get out your house. You can get on-site accommodation and actually show them the opportunities that are available to them. They won't even think to look here. And it's going into them, whether it's primary school or high school, and sharing it all and how they can access it. Because we say it's really easy to access this sport. Is it? Really? Do you know, that's not a criticism. There's a lot of sports that are exactly the same and a lot of employment opportunities, and it's showing them how they can get there and how we can help them.
You get to go last.
I think with marketing budget for us, I mean, Racing to School in the Pathway do a fantastic job of going into pony clubs, but obviously we're limited on resources of how much funding we've got to do that. And pony clubs camps are a great way of encouraging people that have got ponies to come pony racing. But also I think if we had the marketing budget, you know, we could expand more on those that have currently got ponies and actually might not have considered a career. But I think also if we could expand the advertising of the opportunities of grassroots entry into pony racing and racing on a mass to everybody, schools, etc., that would be brilliant. But, you know, those that have already got ponies as well, you know, they're prime candidates for those that might be interested in a career in racing as well.
Last thing for all three of you, before we stop for lunch. What is the determining factor for each of you that equals success? What do you walk away from a day or a period of time going, that was a success? What do you count as a success?
On a day one, it's just seeing their smiles in their face and actually giving someone an opportunity, but it's actually when they succeed and when they started with no confidence and all self-doubt, thinking they're never going to achieve that, and then they actually get their certificate and their completion and they do something they never thought they could. It's just amazing. And it doesn't matter if you change one kid's life or thousands, that one is just as important because you've made a difference.
Jane?
I was thinking about this before I came, so it's quite interesting that you've asked it. I was thinking that I would really like for some of the young people that I work with to fast forward 10 years and to really see them in the sort of senior levels of management within my organisation, for the senior levels of management of racing to look more representative of the outside world.
Like it. And Lucinda, you get to last again. So.
I think smiles is a big one for us. When we go and see academy riders or any riders pony racing, the enjoyment factor and the passion and the excitement they get seeing them complete is fantastic, and just the smiles on their families' faces as well. But I do have to say as well, the enjoyment and success for us as well is seeing them have a great time, and actually when they then contact us again and say, what can I do next? Because we can provide them and signpost them to other opportunities. So yeah, that's success for us. Well,
listening to the three of you speaking now this afternoon, I think it's fair to say you've put a smile on all our faces. So success, well done. Thank you very much to Lucinda, Lauren and Jane.